The Brutalist ending explained. What happens to Laszlo and Harrison? This article includes mentions of sexual assault. Brady Corbett's The Brutalist offers an ending with dense thematic material to examine. Adrian Brody leads The Brutalist's cast as Laszlo Toth, a Hungarian Jewish architect who was separated from his wife during World War II. He arrives in America and finds himself under the employ of Harrison Lee Van Buren, a wealthy man fascinated by Toth's innovative architectural talent, who commissions him to construct a landmark community center in memory of his mother. The movie's ending sees Harrison reach out to Laszlo to kick off construction again. On their trip to Italy, Harrison rapes a drunk Laszlo to demonstrate his power over him. This causes Laszlo to spiral, lashing out in anger at his friends and employees. Eventually, his wife Erzsébet runs out of medication, and Laszlo injects her with heroin to help with the pain, causing her to overdose. She survives, and they plan to leave the country, but first she confronts Harrison about what he did. At his home, Harrison disappears after being accused in front of family and colleagues. Sophia's final speech in The Brutalist and what it means explained. The Brutalist's epilogue occurs in 1980 at a biennale for Laszlo Toth, exhibiting his architectural work over the past 2 decades and celebrating his life. It's a shocking moment, given how desperate matters were becoming for him at the end of the film, but it seems like Erzsébet's trip back to Pennsylvania ended up being fruitful for his career. However, it's unclear how exactly Laszlo became a renowned architect in the time since last seeing him. Given that the Van Buren Community Center is mentioned as one of his accomplishments, it would appear he was credited for the work. At the event, Sophia gives a speech about Laszlo Toth's life, summarizing her uncle's career and demonstrating a side of his character that the audience hasn't really been directly acquainted with, as Laszlo hasn't shared the inspiration for his work. She describes how his personal life served as an influence on his creative process, inspiring different aspects of the community center. Notably, the interiors of the community center were made to resemble the concentration camps Laszlo was subjected to, meaning his trauma was developed into his work. Her point is to suggest that Laszlo went through hell to achieve his artistry, but the end result is ultimately what mattered. There's one statement Sophia makes that's perfectly reflective of the narrative. She closes the speech saying, "No matter what the others try and sell you, it is the destination, not the journey." Her point is to suggest that Laszlo went through hell to achieve his artistry, but the end result is ultimately what mattered. His personal life was continuously riddled with conflict and tragedy, and yet he accomplished works that eventually came to be respected and admired. What happened to Harrison after Erzsébet accuses him? Harrison Lee Van Buren's fate is one of the strangest mysteries of The Brutalist's ending. Despite the importance of his character to the narrative, after Erzsébet accuses him of raping Laszlo, he flees the scene. His son and household employees are unable to find him on the grounds, and the film cuts away to the epilogue without resolving his disappearance. Furthermore, the epilogue doesn't provide any more information regarding Harrison. Brady Corbett leaves the decision to the viewer. There are several matters regarding this scene that can be theorized upon. As for Harrison's fate, it's possible that he killed himself or simply fled, hiding from the shame and leaving to begin life anew elsewhere. Another interesting detail in the scene is how his son, Harry, reacts. Harry is a pompous tool throughout the film, and this is the one scene where he shows genuine despair. It seems like, aside from his father being accused of doing something terrible, he's horrified because he believes or knows it to be true. Another scene in the film shows Harry walking up to Sophia as she sits by the water in a swimsuit. He asks her if she'd like to go on a stroll, but the scene cuts away before demonstrating what happens. The next time they're shown, Sophia is walking away from Harry, purposefully covering up where she was previously showing skin. The film could be implying that Harry attempted to feel her up, or worse. It's purely speculation, But this could suggest either that Harry has developed these tendencies by mimicking his father or by experiencing them from his father. Did Ursabet die before the Brutalist's epilogue? Ursabet isn't present in the epilogue, implying that she passed away sometime in the past 20 years. Luckily, she survived the overdose in 1960, living long enough to move back to Europe with Laszlo. She had been diagnosed with osteoporosis in or around 1953, likely impacting her life expectancy. Though she was shown walking on a stretcher toward the movie's ending, her condition largely wasn't shown to be improving over her 7 years in the Brutalist. Was Laszlo Toth a real architect? Adrian Brody's character, Laszlo Toth, is a completely fictional figure, though the film is so well constructed that he feels alive. In an interview with CNN, Adrian Brody discussed how his own life helped influence the creation of the character, saying, "I am fortunate to have an understanding of that immigrant experience and the many parallels of an artist's journey." Brody's performance, the writing from Brady Corbett and Mona Fastvold, and other talented artists involved in the projection helped develop a fascinating figure to study. The real meaning of the Brutalist explained. The Brutalist is a post-war epic that examines similarities between immigrants and artists. Laszlo is both of these things, and not only is he rejected for differing from the locals in religion and culture, but he's also misunderstood as a creative. He's surrounded by Americans who can't possibly understand any aspect of his life and don't attempt to try. With that in mind, Harrison Lee Van Buren is emblematic of America in its most toxic form, a capitalist who doesn't care to understand Laszlo's plight or even the art, and yet desires to own it. To an extreme extent, Harrison enforces his need for power over Laszlo, even sexually assaulting him while reminding him that he isn't living to his full potential. Harrison is envious of Laszlo's creative genius, suggesting that his vast wealth has only resulted in a profoundly shallow existence. The Brutalist is ultimately Laszlo's portrait, though, and the movie suggests that regardless of the tragic journey, he reaches his destination, and the world revels in his creation.